The Marketing Futurist Podcast, Episode 8. Mind-blowing inspiration to create and innovate. This is your Futurist advantage.
Welcome to the Marketing Futurist Podcast, where your hosts, Mary Catherine Johnson and Kelly Garrett, chat with innovators who are keeping the human in marketing while driving the future of tech to give all of us a futurist advantage.
Welcome back, Marketing Futurist. And today we are here with Roberto Blake, who is an entrepreneur, a creative person, a YouTuber, and also a speaker. So welcome, Roberto. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you here. So we're just going to dive right in and let you kind of give us a little bit of background about what you've been up to, what you're doing now, and kind of everything that's on your plate.
So I'm a creative entrepreneur. As you mentioned earlier, I do a lot of things within the creative services industry. Right now, primarily my focus with my company, Create Awesome Media, my digital agency, is on video content strategy, helping people navigate the landscape of the future of online video and what it means for their business and for their personal brand. So me and my team, we consult with people, whether they're individuals or brands. We also offer management services for video-based social media platforms. Primarily our focus right now is YouTube, which in the near future will actually overtake its parent company, Google, when it comes to being the first largest search engine in the world. So, that's really exciting stuff. Obviously, as a public speaker, I'm helping people at conferences with their content marketing strategy, personal brand development, but also navigating video technology. We're in a place right now where this can essentially become the equivalent of what a film production studio was just a few years ago. And a lot of people think that's an exaggeration, but it's really not. This is not a better camera than Spike Lee had when he shot Do the Right Thing, but it is a better storytelling device. This has time lapse. This can live broadcast. Live broadcast technology just 5 years ago was not available to the far majority of people. It was for the 0.1% of companies, not even humans, of companies. So that's insane to think about how far we've come, to the fact that every single human being can broadcast HD video live with the device that's just in their pocket, and it will look good. I mean, so that's amazing. We're seeing more happen with that. We're seeing people use this for everything from webinars to town halls to running their own personal QVC show to broadcasting live events around the world, whether that's the wedding that their friends and family can't attend from across the globe, or whether it's spreading information, or whether it's, letting us get real news from people who are on the ground during either the best or worst moments in human history. I mean, I'm really fascinated by the future and all of that and how far it's come, being 33, being someone who watched all this stuff get invented and adapted to it in real time. So what I want to do is I want to help enable and educate and empower people around, these things and all of my fancy cameras as tools that they can use in their life and business to move forward.
Absolutely. And I think you kind of hit on it, being I'm in a similar generation to you, in that I watched all of these things happen and there was no choice but to adapt to it. And I was so young when it was happening that it was something really cool and I could easily pick up and do on it. So what for you specifically kind of made you stick to technology or video in general, or some of the favorite things that you have? What was most appealing to you?
I think it's just that I've always been that way, and I was the kid who took apart the VCR, put it back together. I've always been that way, and then I think it's just because being an introvert, being an art nerd, being the smart kid, I was picked on and bullied a lot. The world that I lived in was always never really satisfying to me. I was always in search of what the new world was and what the future was, because I just always imagined that things had to get better for me at some point, right? So I think that holding on to that optimism and then it being rewarded with seeing a new world be born and come into life, a world that actually was advantageous for me, a world that was better for me, a world that played to my strengths. I think that's probably at the core of it and at the core of who I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So I can already tell just from the little conversation we've had that you are a master storyteller. Okay. So right
Oh,
there,
thank you.
that's a given. Everything you're talking about, because, well, just your view of the world is what makes you that way. Your view of your world, seeing where you are and knowing there has to be something better, knowing you're going to search for that other thing that you can use to really what we all search for: feeling good, feeling happy, feeling content, feeling heard, all those things. Wow. Okay, so take me into that, please, because we're talking about marketing. We're talking about, and because I could go so many places, but I can't.
Oh, sure.
I can't because we only have a certain amount of time and we have to encapsulate it into marketing. I'm really angry about that. But anyway, we're going to have another conversation, okay? Seriously. So, how do you determine? So before we were recording, I have to tell everyone in the audience, wonderful marketing futurists, about this new iPhone and about new technology and how you've already figured it out and checked it out and all of that. But how do you take that and determine what you're going to use next? So you were amazing when you were saying that this, some of it's great, some of it's hype, blah, blah, blah. But so how do you, in such a quick fashion, and be able to just break that down and know what you're going to use next and know what will be useful to you in your storytelling?
So I have a clear objective. Like, what you want to put this in the context of marketing. Let's talk in the context of video marketing, and let's talk about the thing that everyone is scared of and everyone has to answer to: justifying the ROI of video marketing and social media. The thing that everybody is terrified with. I'll just lead with that punch. It's going to be,
Please.
and just so everyone knows, it's going to be a devastating punch. It's going to be a tiger uppercut right to people's gut or face, something like that. It's going to be brutal, because the thing is, no one has any business trying to get around this or trying to beat it up. Because here's the thing: if I told anybody that they could be on nationally syndicated television for free, even if I couldn't guarantee the views, and even if they didn't have a show idea, and they just was like, yeah, you can be on nationally syndicated broadcast cable television, I have no idea what we're going to do, and I don't have a camera for you, but this is the deal, this is the contract, and you're going to be on TV for a year. Do you say yes to that? Every freaking marketer, every freaking business owner says yes to that. And they won't figure out how to rationalize it, how to justify the ROI. They will figure out how to do that because they understand that. They grew up with it. The aspiration was always to be on television, and it's to be seen and to be heard and to get in front of as many eyeballs as possible. And they will figure it out. They will figure it out. And we know that also because we know people overpay for that opportunity in the form of cable broadcast ads that you and I, if we even bother to watch television, will DVR past, fast forward past, get up and go to the restroom, go and grab a snack and not watch that ad that they paid so much money to get in front of us, and they will have no relevance and no top of mind with us. So guess what? People are already justifying that. They can't prove clicks. They can't prove views. They only get estimates based on Nielsen ratings of how many people it was broadcast to, with no guarantee whether people took meaningful action and no ability to attribute sales to it. I used to design billboards for a small agency that had big clients when I lived in New York. I worked in Manhattan. I used to do HBO boxing billboards. No one ever bothers to justify the cost of a billboard. You want to know what the cost of a billboard was? Just for the creative, not even counting printing it, not counting having it up on a billboard, just for the creative, $60,000 plus for billboards and everything like that to get it designed. And that's not even counting the photo shoot that happens behind that as well, and the licensing and all the other things. Nope, that's just to have a graphic designer Photoshop something together, put it together in InDesign for digital print production, and say, here you go, and maybe give you 3 to 5 revisions. $60K. And that's not even, again, printing it, putting it up, and it's only there for a limited time. So no one's trying to justify the ROI of that. No one's attributing direct sales and tickets or foot traffic to that. Nobody's counting. But then you go to social media. You go to Facebook views, YouTube views, Instagram views, and they're like, what's the value of a like or share? It's like you had no way to attribute sentiment to any of the other advertising you bought. You have no way to attribute whether people like the print ad in a magazine or not, which I also designed for a living and everything like that. And I'm not throwing those things completely under the bus. I'm putting it into perspective as a marketer. Mm-hmm. You had no idea you have no ability for the last 50 years to attribute direct sales to anything unless somebody uses a coupon, which means you're already taking a hit on margin. Mm-hmm. So let's be frank about that. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't try to qualify or measure social media. I can teach people how to do that effectively. Something I call the 3 S's of ROI. Sales is the obvious one. I almost hate that it's even in this equation because it's obvious. Sales, sentiment, social proof, and scale. And all of those things are valuable. But here's the thing. Any material that you do advertising or marketing wise has to accomplish at least one of those objectives. It doesn't necessarily have to accomplish all. Ideally it does, but it doesn't even have to accomplish all of them equally. Meaning that doing a piece of content may not be that I have to attribute direct sales to it or make direct sales of that. What if I want to do content to qualify the market and measure sentiment so that I know whether there is an audience viable that's interested in this thing and interested and committed enough to buy, or whether I'm going to solve a real problem? It's free to make that content theoretically. Again, there's cost, but it's not like I have to pay for advertising and pay for clicks for something to like shell out money to reach people. I can just put it out there and see how people respond. I can measure sentiment. We used to do this called focus groups. We used to do polling, and that used to cost money. Now we can create content for free, let people give us feedback, let people tell us what they want, and we can then deliver a viable product that they said they would pay for. And we just have to take them at their word. And they spent time on this, so that means that they probably will spend money. And we can measure that in the form of content, aka videos on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. If people like it, if people are commenting enough, people are engaging with it, that is valuable to us in the fact that we now can qualify a product and we can get a product right going to market the first time instead of wasting dollars producing something that doesn't sell. So we can now use sentiment as a means of qualifying ROI, of creating content and putting it out there and producing it, because, you know, it's cheaper to make content, put it out there and see how it performs than to just throw a product, develop into the market, and it sit on the shelf and be wasted inventory. So sentiment matters. Social proof. Why does that matter? Well, to be a market leader and be an authority, you have to be top of mind. It's not an accident that people buy Apple products, even if they're not always the best device. You know, spec for spec, dollar for dollar, performance for performance. Why? It's top of mind. It's a brand you know. I buy Craftsman tools because Dad bought Craftsman tools. Craftsman tools are top of mind with me. They're in my awareness. Even though Michael Bay makes horrible movies, because I grew up on Transformers and it's in my head, I still shell out the $9.50 just because they won me over about 28 years ago. Being top of mind matters. So social proof and awareness and being, hey, even if I'm not number one, I'm always here. That counts, right? Just ask Steve Urkel. Took him 20 years, but eventually, you know, Laura Winslow caved in because he was always there. Brand presence, social proof, always showing up, being there, being top of mind. Like, hey, I'm not number one, but I'm here. You know, that's important. The person who shows up wins. So social proof, being a market leader, and also, again, giving people the opportunity to qualify you. Social proof in the form of, I've never heard of you before, but now that I see you and I see that you're always there and I see how much stuff you put out there and I see people responding to it, maybe, like, why were you not on my radar? Maybe I'm doing something wrong. That happens all the time. I've seen that play out in real life with my own public speaking career. The fact that I put out my speaking engagements on YouTube and I put out snippets of them on Facebook and LinkedIn, I have more reach and more presence than public speakers who have been speaking 5 or 10 times as long as me. I have more social proof. I have more proof that I'm a speaker than most people, because you can find roughly 50 videos that show me on a stage or more, probably closer to 100 now, at some point showing me on a stage. There are constantly photos in my social media feeds showing me, you know, on these stages. I have that social proof, which means I'm top of mind when people think of speakers in the video marketing landscape, when they think about video social media, when they think about video content strategy, when they think about YouTube experts. I'm creating social proof so that Roberto Blake is top of mind. So in the top 5 or 10 people that they think of and rattle off on that list, I'm there. So social proof matters because of reach and awareness. It's not even about your numbers. It's about presence. It's about presence. People mistake numbers for credibility, and they can be. But presence, your body of work, having a larger depth and breadth of body of work than a contemporary in the market, whether you're a product or a service or an individual, is important, because that volume is a perception to most people of consistency, of continuity, and of longevity. So we trust those things when we see somebody, even if they're really good, but they only have 10 executions, and we see somebody who's, I think that person this person's a marginally better, but they have 50 or 100 executions. I trust them a little bit more because they're seasoned, or they have the perception of that.
Yeah.
So
we
talked about social proof. We talked about sentiment. What about scale? What do I mean by that? Because scale can mean a lot of things. Scale is about positioning. This thing may not achieve a sales goal, but you might have an objective that's part of your sales life cycle, or part of your brand development, or part of your company that you need to accomplish. And can this content, or can engagement around this content, or can qualifying an audience, can this position you for a bigger overall goal? Let's use a real world example. Growing an email list is something marketers all understand the value of. A video may not convert today. What about using a video as a touch point to give away a free offering, a lead magnet you already have? What about using video to amplify awareness around the lead magnet you already have that puts people on an email list where you can convert them later? Because if you already know that email converts for us better than everything else. Email converts for us better than everything else. Blah, blah, blah. Social media, blah, blah, blah. Paid ads suck, blah, blah, blah. Video is too hard. Okay, what about using all of those things where we know there is attention, and we know there are eyeballs, and we know there's participation? If we know that we are not winning selling there, we go there, we give away something for free that puts someone in an email list where we have had a successful conversion cycle. What about using this other thing, whether we're great at it or not, to amplify the thing we are good at? So that's what I mean by scale, is you can look for this thing as an opportunity, as a leverage point. So in general, being there and showing up, that social proof, that sentiment, those things all matter. But now we could go ahead and say, well, we could use this for scale. We can use this for amplification. And then that eventually, all those things add up to what we need to make a sale in the first place. You don't buy from people you don't know. So social proof and expanding your awareness is important. We don't buy from people we don't like. So gauging sentiment, making people like us by showing up and proving our worth and our value to them, that is important. Positioning for something that plays to our strengths, so that if we don't make the sale today, we have the opportunity to make it tomorrow, or a week from now, or a month from now, or a year from now. That's important. We can't ignore that. These are fundamental truths within marketing. So when people say there's no ROI, or I don't understand the ROI of video marketing or social media, I don't know what the hell they're talking about. Because the 4 S's of ROI, trademark, copyright, the 4 S's of ROI, as dictated by Roberto Blake, are the key to unlocking and understanding the value of video marketing, video micro content and social media, content marketing holistically overall, and why this digital landscape is so important, and why you can't ignore it just because of what you've done for the last 50 years that worked. It's like, it's not going to help you today. Sorry.
No, and first off, I've got to tell you, all right, guys, if you didn't know yet, we've just jumped into a roller coaster, and you just better hang on, because this guy's gonna just rock your world. All right, so there's number one. Just got to acknowledge that, because I'm just hanging on and my hair's flying back. Okay, but beyond that, you speak truth, because if you look back, and you guys being the youngsters and me being a little older, there are companies like Woolworths, there are companies like Weinstocks, there are companies.
I remember Woolworths.
Hello, yeah. So remember, not current, not in the present sense, not
I
in the
remember
future
Blockbuster
sense.
too. I remember Blockbuster too.
See, so these companies may have been. You mentioned Craftsman, which is another older brand, but they stayed in your presence. They stayed and they adapted. These others, Woolworths, Weinstocks, those other companies didn't, and Blockbuster didn't. So even though, yes, those 4 S's are fantastic to think about, and they keep everything top of mind, and they keep us pushing forward, that's exactly what we're talking about. You're using video. You're using all of these same techniques. And any marketers out there, if you didn't hear what he said, please go back and listen to this again, because if you don't handle all of those things, if you don't think social media and social proof it matters or is going to impact your ROI, video isn't going to impact your ROI, look around. Just look at the video, live video. I love what you're talking about. So now take us the next step. We don't want to go back into the past and see why Woolworths and all those guys didn't do anything. We want to look in the future. Okay? So what's coming? How can we use these tools to push, to be on that bleeding edge, to really push this whole thing forward?
80% of all online traffic in the next 3 years will be video based. So that's important, which means you have to have video content. You have to be thinking consciously about that. You also have to align it specifically to your goals and to your objectives. You have to do that. When I decided I wanted to grow my public speaking career, when it happened, from the very first time I recorded my first paid public speaking engagement, which was at PepCon 2015 in June. So that was just 2 years ago. And I've spoken 50 times on stage since then. And part of that I attribute to the fact that I recorded my first speaking engagement. I recorded my second speaking engagement. I recorded my third speaking engagement. Every opportunity I had to record where the camera didn't like bug out on me, I recorded. And then I took those clips and I made a speaker reel. My intention was grow my speaking career, which means show that I am a good public speaker. Show that in perpetuity in the sense of here's my full speaking engagement uninterrupted. But then for those of you who like that might be too much to commit to for an hour or 45 minutes, cut it up into segments and chunks just like the slides and present that as single serving information, how to ... and then it's me on stage explaining how to ... and then putting out those videos. Doing that was intentional. It wasn't an accident. It was a video content strategy. This is what I provide as a one-on-one coaching consultant, and this is what my company is providing to brands, is content strategies and executions that are aligned to a specific outcome that you want. And mine was, as evidenced by the fact that we're talking right now, is I wanted more speaking engagements. I wanted more interviews. I wanted to increase that social footprint beyond my how-to and tutorial contents, and the fact that, yes, I'm good at these things. And yes, I'd make a great consultant, blah, 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 blah. What can I do to help people understand that I can put that in the context of giving a very powerful presentation, presenting a lot of varied information in an actionable way? Well, I had to show them. I couldn't just tell them. It's not enough to put together a speaker sheet and say, hey, I can do all these things. No, I have to use video because it's the next best thing to being in person. You weren't there. Okay, you missed out. Here's what you missed out on. For attendees, hey, conferences, let me film these videos and let me put the whole thing out because you already sold tickets. You got to sell tickets for next year. Oh, yeah, you're right, Roberto. Yeah, this is free marketing. I charge brands $1,500 to do a sponsored video. You're getting it for free. You're welcome. So that was a real thing because there are conferences that are hesitant to do that. But I'm like, no. Your attendees, they paid for the experience of being there. They paid to be able there to ask their questions. They paid to be able to see not just me, but other speakers. Mm-hmm. I'm one of the only ones ever filming. And they paid to be able to walk up afterward and hang out in the hall with me for an hour and get free Q&A on top of all this, something I should charge for. Yeah. So that's what they got as an attendee, not the content itself. When I started helping event marketers realize that and realize this is an opportunity, with me putting out not only this one video, but chopping it up into 5 or 8 videos, you don't have video marketing right now as an event beyond an ad that you're running in Facebook. I can show people what they missed and make them decide to commit to next year. And they're like, and I have an audience to do it. Then they accepted that. That was, so again, I understood what their clearly defined goal was. I understood what my clearly defined goal was. I understood that the clearly defined goal of an audience attendee is if I'm going to pay $600 to attend an event, what's that look like? What are the speakers there like? And what would a session really be like? What would that experience be like? So I delivered on that. It's no ambiguity. So if you're selling a product or a service to leverage video, one of the benefits is to eliminate ambiguity. The future of that is that everyone is more skeptical. The future is that people will be more skeptical. People will be more jaded. People will be more fiscally conservative. People will be more reluctant to part with their money and not want to feel that they're being made a fool of. People will have more anxiety. I am someone who suffers from anxiety and depression. And I fight and win those battles every day that I can, right? But when it comes to a buying decision, anyone who can remove my anxiety, anyone who causes me the least anxiety gets my dollars. They win. Video is an opportunity to show up and to do that and to put something into context for me, whether you're leveraging influencers, whether you're doing a product demonstration, whether you're showing real people in the real world and use cases for this thing, whether you're showing a how-to video so that I know when I buy it that I don't feel stupid, like this is too complicated, this is too hard, like walk me through it. Instructional, those things all matter. They're all important. So you can leverage video for the future to do that, because in a world 5 years from now where we have more heightened anxiety than ever, where we're more skeptical and cynical than ever, unfortunately, I'll be more optimistic than ever. I'll be happier than ever, I'm pretty sure. But for everybody else who's not me in that instance, parting with their money will be much more difficult and strained. I want the economy and entrepreneurship to make everything better. What if it doesn't? If it doesn't, people will be much more strapped for cash. People will be much more concerned about where they're putting their money and what they're investing it in. Make them trust you. Presenting yourself in video and doing that more than your competitors, being able to say, hey, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I'm willing to show you and let you be the judge for yourself. That speaks to authenticity. That speaks to, I have less reluctance to do anything with a brand that is out there and is fielding public scrutiny and taking it on the chin than somebody that's like, no, we're not going to put anything out there. No, we're afraid of social media. What if people don't like it? What if people say bad things? What if people make memes? If you're like, I have no interest in spending money with companies that are cowards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Weinstocks of the world. You're going the way of Weinstocks and those other companies. Yeah. So you're the reason that the next speaking gig I have, I can't videotape myself. Because the conference is videotaping it for me and saying, no, we are doing that, and we are going to use that as our speaker's reel. So I get
then
it.
Then ask them for the footage. Ask them for you to be able to chop it up into segments. Tell them that you want to distribute it. Ask them for an affiliate link for sales because they like to get their speakers to sales, and then point them in the direction that you want to use this as a sales tool, and then you win. Not to mention you can chop it up for your reel. Say, hey, I want to include some of this footage in my speaker reel. I'm not going to put up the whole talk since you're doing that, but I want to put up segments. I'll link back to your whole talk, so I'll give you traffic. Everyone wants free traffic. So again, make it a win-win for them, and then again, tie it to, I want to do this because I want an affiliate link. I want to sell tickets. They're like, yeah, I want you to sell tickets. It's like, it's a sale you don't have to get, right?
Yeah,
Enable me. Help me help you. So make it a win-win for everybody and help it qualify for the audience. Make it a win-win. And again, tie it to money for them. If it's tied to money for them, most people don't turn down an opportunity for someone to act on their behalf as a salesperson. Most people don't turn down a free sales force. If they do, then we need to have a talk.
Yeah.
We need to have a talk. It's probably not going to be pleasant.
Very
it's going to
happy.
be a painful conversation, but send them my way and we'll work it out.
I've also got an Uncle Vito who can do that for me too. So
yes.
Some Vito. Yeah, that's it. French. You got it, baby. You got it.
If marketing didn't work out, I could do voices.
Yeah, there you go. All right. So, we've got, I think we've heard a couple of things that kind of tick you off a little bit about some of this stuff, but really let's bring it into that. So we've got this amazing futuristic prediction that you have, and I love it. Absolutely agree and embrace it. What really, in specifically the marketing and video side, what really bugs you about the things that some of these people actually do? Not that they don't embrace it, not that they aren't doing it or acting upon it, but what bugs you that people are actually doing in this whole futurist video marketing idea?
The phrase quality over quantity, every time someone says it and doesn't add very specific context to it, I really actually physically kind of want to punch them in the mouth. Like, hashtag disclaimer, no violence, not really, but but hashtag, yeah, I kind of do.
Yeah.
Because it's so stupid. Because it's not true. It's not empirically true. Quality over quantity. It's like, you need both. Number one, you need both. And when I say no, they're like, oh, so you're saying we should just mass produce garbage. It's like, why are you putting words in my mouth? It's like, do you want me to punch you? Do you want me to hit you? Like, you're putting words in my mouth. Why don't you listen? Like, and the thing is, it's like, once you get to a level of acceptable, when you find out what the minimal level and threshold of acceptable quality is for an audience, scale. That's retail 101. Once you have something good, mass produce it. It doesn't mean make it better. The idea is, no, where's diminishing returns? What's the threshold at which I can produce something? And when it comes to video content, if it's not something overly produced anyway, if the quality is you and your energy and your quality of information, how the hell would doing this more diminish the quality? Now, if you're going to say, I don't have the stamina to be on camera back to back, then that's different. And by the way, you can address that. That's called hydrate. That's called work out. That's called eat better. That's called look at your optimal peaks times of energy and figure that out and figure out, can you go more without it hurting you? Because I can understand that argument, but but for every objection people have to this, I have an answer. And then it's just a matter of, are you capable of that or not? Because if not, then you don't qualify to do more than what you're doing because you figured out these are your limitations and there's nothing wrong with that. But to make the blanket statement that you can't increase quantity without diminishing quality is ludicrous and absurd. We're better than that. It's like, how does the quality diminish? If you're using the same camera, then the technical quality doesn't diminish. If you're still using the same microphone, the technical quality doesn't diminish. There's objective quality, which is all the technical production values in editing, and then there's subjective quality, which is the energy, online presence, and the emotional connection you make with the audience. If it's you, unless your energy levels are not being maintained, how is the quality diminishing? And if you're using the same technical equipment and setup and you're the editor or the editing team, unless you are getting sloppy just by doing it more, then how's the quality diminish? So again, people aren't even qualifying the statement quality over quantity, because if I break it down to the technical objective quality of audio, video, and editing, which is all the technical aspect of it, if all of that is being consistent because you're just turning on the camera, shooting back to back, and then you're still editing, or you take a day off and you edit some more, or you outsource it to your editing team, how is the technical quality diminished by scaling the quantity? The short answer is it's not. It's impossible if you're using a streamlined system and workflow. Now, if you're not doing that, then there's an argument to be made. That's another problem for you to solve, but that's not beholden to quantity. That's beholden to technical acumen and efficiency to begin with. A different problem to solve. Systems. Now, the subjective quality of that, your delivery, your energy, your stamina, your on-camera presence, your enthusiasm, your passion for the content, your knowledge of the content. If it's you, then the delivery, that's not predicated on quantity. That's, are you good today or not? Whole different argument to have. So you're either good today, you're confident today, you're energetic today, you're hyped today, or you're not. In which case, the quantity wouldn't matter. It wouldn't impact that, because if you're doing one video a week or like 3 minutes a month, then doing 2 or 6, if you're on, you're on. Quantity isn't the factor in that case. Right. Stamina might be, but that's another problem for you to solve, and that's a business problem that you have to address regardless. Right. So I don't believe in the statement quality over quantity. It is both. Once you get to the viable threshold of minimal acceptable quality for you personally and for your audience, because the thing is, what people won't admit is that the problem is, well, I'm not personally satisfied with the quality of this thing. Okay, so it's ego. It's that you don't want to put out anything that is less than the most stellar thing in the world, even if your audience is like, but I'm fine with this. If I could have more of it, the demand, you're not meeting demand because you want to satisfy your own ego. Ego is expensive. Shirt coming soon. Ego is expensive.
Love it.
Ego is expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. Yes. You could say, hey, I can do this very polished thing on Wednesdays, but on Fridays, I can take my hair down. I can be more direct with my audience. I can be more vulnerable with them and be like, and I could maybe edit less, and I could make this less fancy, and this could just be a conversation. And guess what? People might, oh, wow, I relate to you so much more. I found that out to be true. I found out that sometimes less produced content, live streams, those things speak and scream authenticity, and they do overwhelmingly well on engagement. People don't care that the production value is less, because at that point, maybe when you're starting out, it matters. But at that point, they're coming for the individual, and they're coming for access. And so you have to understand what the leverage point and what the value to the audience is. And you have to weigh that against your own ego and what the value is to you of what you're doing. So when you say, well, what are people doing that's ticking you off? That's the thing, more than anything else. That and not getting started, but yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to say something 10 different ways in order to catch the ways that people need to receive that message. So you can't just say, this is the one way that I'm going to present this information, and everybody must receive it and get it, or else.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah. I let go of that ego thing a while ago as I started getting older and decided not to dye my hair. I show up on camera with my hair pulled back, looking like who knows what. It doesn't matter. What's coming out of my mouth is what people are responding to, not whether I've got perfectly dyed hair. Okay?
Authenticity and rawness is both a valuable funnel and it's a filter, because the people who are going to turn you off and not listen to you because of that aren't worth your time anyway.
That's right.
You'd waste so much time winning people over. This whole idea of winning people over, I think, is nonsense. It's because meritocracy, the value is the value. If somebody is going to filter you out over the most minutia thing, and your information could help them and is valuable to them and would help them win, if they're going to filter you out based on that, this is going to sound harsh. People like think this sounds very presumptuous or arrogant of me. It's like they deserve to lose.
Yeah.
They deserve to lose. If I am not going to listen to someone who can actually scale me, grow my business, 10x my business because of this one little thing, or because they tick me off this one little time, or because of their appearance, because of their gender, their race, their hair color, their age. If I like, look, there's like a 15-year-old kid, Caleb Maddox, and people give him a lot of crap because he's 15 years old and he's a public speaker and he's a young entrepreneur and everything like that. And people give him a lot of crap because how dare you? You're 15. What do you know? He's freaking smart. And this 15-year-old kid hustles and he outworks people I know that are 20 years older than him, 30 years older than him. He's smarter. I know 45-year-old CEOs that are like really naive about the new world. This kid was born in it. Yeah. He's a native to it. Yep. If you aren't listening to, like, primary example, if you're 45, here's the thing. A kid on Snapchat at 16 is going to kick your butt. When it comes to understanding that particular application, that ecosystem, I almost guarantee you that if you're 55, when I was 16, 18, I bet you that if we had a speed typing contest of like home row keys, no look and everything like that, that I would destroy you. I would destroy you for free, right? I'm 33. These 13-year-old kids, there's certain video games that if I show up, I'm going to get my butt kicked. I'm going to lose. Like, okay, like, I mean, I still hang in there. I'm still a casual gamer, but I'm going to lose. And I accept that. I accept that, hey, like, age ain't nothing but a number. You live in that world day in and day out. I'm a foreigner to that. I'm going to lose, right? So what gets me is this idea that if people are going to filter out on something like that, like ageism, gender, sexism, whatever they're going to think, based and not accept value that another human being can give them on an experience that actually would matter to them or that they declared a goal to, and you're going to say, no, I don't believe that that person can do it for me. Instead of seeing if they can and judging it on merit, I believe in meritocracy so much. And my answer to that is I like the arrogance and the absurdity of thinking that you can't learn from someone else is the greatest folly to me. You cannot arrogantly believe that there's no capacity for you to learn from another human being and from their experiences. That's real to me.
Yeah, and it basically comes into what I see you saying. I agree again. We're looking into the future, and with all of this information that is readily accessible to any human being, well, not any, but most human beings
Anybody
on
with
the
one
planet.
Of these.
Anyone
with one of these.
With any kind of technology and internet access, which is not all humans, but a lot of them.
Closer every day.
Yeah. So what we have to look for in the future, and I want to pick something specific you just said, is that if someone isn't willing to look at what we have to say, or isn't part of our group, we're not speaking to them, that's fine. Go on your way, find someone who does, because we don't need to just reach all the masses. We need to reach those people who specifically need what we have and want to hear it the way we say it.
Let's dive into that.
That's it. And that's exactly, because that's the future. So it's not getting
specificity.
Yeah.
Laser micro targeting at a granular level, because this is why the age of the influencer, and I believe in the micro influencer. You have people writing articles, micro influencers are scam. It's like, no. Mm-hmm. They are 33 years buying Craftsman tools because dad was a micro influencer, was a master mechanic in the Marine Corps. It was good enough for dad. It was good enough for me. Micro influencer. Dad impacted me and all of my siblings. We are Craftsman tools people through and through. That's it. You know, that's real. Most graphic designers and video editors that came up in or grew up watching people through the 90s became Mac and Apple people because their boss, their contemporary, or this great artist that they admire was a Mac person. You use the camera, you use the laptop. I became a Nikon person because my friends shot Nikon. They influenced my decision. The world famous photographers that I followed, Scott Kelby, Terry White, Jared Polin, were all Nikon guys, and I became a Nikon guy. But my dad and I, for film, shot Konica Minolta before, and then Sony bought their technology. When Sony got good at digital, I became a Sony person. And also for video, I grew up and I saw the news reporters and everybody with Panasonic cameras. When Panasonic got really good at that, I became a Panasonic person too. So now I have Panasonic and Sony cameras as my primary shooters for my YouTube content, and it's what I recommend. And according to my Amazon affiliate numbers, people buy because of my recommendations too. So the age of micro influencers, getting very specific, getting very granular, it's where dollars really exist. Right. Going for broad appeal of, millions of followers, millions of subscribers and everything like that, it's not that relevant. It does give you the maximum ceiling and potential of what that person's reach and amplification can be. There is some social proof to be had in that. It can be used as marketing leverage. But when it comes to conversions are about specificity. Conversions, it's better to have less people but have a higher conversion ratio than to have a bigger audience and a smaller thing. We know that there's the 2% rule. 2% makes you a hero in sales and marketing. We know that and everything like that. But when I get email open rates of 23 and 38% and everything like that, which devastated the 8 to 12% that most people get, that's real. Okay. And why? Specific value, very specific value, a very specific personality and profile and avatar that people align with. That is extraordinarily important. I get beat up by YouTubers, regular YouTubers, about view to subscriber ratio all the time. You have 250,000 subscribers, but like 10,000 people watch this video. Are you buying fake subs? No, I solved a specific problem for these 10,000 people this week. Those 10,000 people, it's like, you weren't one of the 10,000 people that needed to solve this problem, right? Or it's like, you watched this video because you had that problem, right? Did you have the other 5 problems that I addressed this week? No. Someone who's not you did. I'm solving specific value for individual people. And like, by the way, that's where I beat a lot of my contemporaries, is because I found effective ways to say, this video isn't about getting YouTube views. This video has a specific objective. This one is maybe affiliate sales. This one might be leverage for a sponsor or a brand that I'm working with to get them something that they want to qualify an audience or get them awareness or reach on this specific thing. And only the people that care about that, because they need every sale they can get. Doesn't matter how much views I get. Conversions matter. I am the conversion king. And that's what matters to people. Oh, I want to do this video because this is going to get me in front of, I don't care if this reaches my YouTube audience. I care if this reaches this producer at this thing so that I can get this interview. I care if it reaches this event marketer so that I can get this gig so they fly me out across the country. I care about this thing so that I can get invited to this press conference or this event so I can be the first person to review this product. Specific goals aligned to specific audiences, specific values and niches, and practical objectives are infinitely more important than vanity metrics. And it's a conversation that gets lost in marketing and social media and video all the time. But the nuance of it is very specific. A video that almost no one watches might make me literally 10x the amount of money, because what it did was it qualified the person who could write me the biggest check, and it won them over. And that was important. Getting one person to view that's the right person that writes a check for $10,000 is infinitely more important than getting 100,000 views on that don't convert to revenue, even if you got passive ad revenue from it. That's less important if your goal is cash flow. If your goal was you wanted maximum impact and reach, then yes, getting the views and scaling the awareness does matter, but only if it later funnels into your bigger objective of either using that as leverage to accomplish something from a marketing perspective. Hey, I accomplished this. I got this many people to pay attention, so I can obviously do this for you. That's how you're leveraging that. If you're a brand, then the way you're saying that is, this many people responded favorably to our product or to our service, or this many people represents how many people have this pain point. Let's see if we can do something about that. Let's see what we can do there. That data is valuable. In fact, sometimes I put out content specifically for the purposes of only accumulating data to see what I don't know and to understand the market better, and to literally use it almost like a polling scenario, because then I can make a data-driven decision and target a specific person with a specific objective and know that there's a specific pain point. I've used online content in Facebook and in Twitter to qualify the pain points of audiences before I go to a speaking engagement of what people's anxiety is, instead of assuming that I already know how to solve a problem for them. I'm qualifying before I go on stage what they want. When I'm actually at the event, I spend hours before I talk one-on-one with people to do a couple of things. One, because I'm an introvert, I'm making a personal connection and getting someone to go to my talk, not because I'm terrified, although I am, that no one will show up, but because It means that everywhere I look in the audience, I'll see a familiar face, which will calm me down. And there'll be somebody at least that will laugh at my joke on stage. So friendly face, I'm safe. Oh, somebody's going to laugh. That's okay, cool. Somebody's paying attention. Someone's going to take notes. That's great. And, someone's going to give me feedback. I'm going to be able to walk up to someone and say, how'd I do? And, get some positive reinforcement so I don't go back to the hotel room and cry. So there's all of those things. But what I'm doing also before the talk is I've changed my talk sometimes and changed my slides an hour before the talk based on feedback from people who are attending the event, because they'll tell me something I hadn't thought of that they need. And then I'll adjust and pivot based on that. I've added slides to decks and deleted slides from decks an hour before, which nobody should do, but I do it because I care that much about giving specific value to the audience. And the thing is, I've never regretted it once, not once.
No, and you're a micro influencer. You have influenced that one person. And that one person will be likely to talk to you about other things. Wow. Okay. So we've hung on for this ride, and we've kind of got to wind it up and bring it back into the station here. And one of the things we have to do is ask you, you've given us so much incredible information. Thank you. What is a tip that you can give someone in the audience that's looking for that advantage, that's looking for tapping into your brain and knowing what the futurist advantage is? What can you tell them?
Well, aside from hire me, the answer is the future is to look at things holistically, even beyond video, and it's a content marketing strategy. Beyond video, I talk with people about content strategy, and the thing is, it can feel overwhelming and it can feel hard to scale. You have to do it for maximum efficiency. But here's why I value video: is video allows me to create a strategy that I'm advocating for. It's something I'm talking about constantly now, and we talked about this in our preliminary conversation. Is read, watch, listen, look. When I say that, what do you think that means?
Read a blog post, watch a video, listen to a podcast, look for the next thing. I don't know.
Look at photos or infographics.
Look at photos,
or presentations, right? Okay, so that seems overwhelming. It's like, Roberto, you're telling me to be everywhere at once. It's impossible. It's like, it's not. It's like I could key up content for Snapchat and Instagram and do that in less than 10 minutes right now and check that box off for the day, and it'd be good content. It doesn't have to be crap. I can do that in 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes. That's 2 platforms. That same photo contextually used in a Snapchat or an Instagram, I can put different context on that, put that in Twitter, or put out of the 5 photos before I chose the one, I could use those and set up cycles in Twitter and attach quotes to that, or meaningful things or links, and bring people in. And there you go. I can take that same photo. I can take that same idea of whatever short post I wrote, and I could put that in LinkedIn and ask people a question associated with that and give them a short paragraph of context. And then I can pull sentiment and see if people care about the thing I care about. And I have a LinkedIn post right there and that. And there's no reason I can't do something and tweak it a little bit for Facebook. All of that round trip. I haven't made video yet, but that would be 30 minutes. So to say that you can't be in every platform at once in a day and that you don't have time, the problem is that nobody's audited that. Nobody has seen how long does it actually take me to do this thing, because you're anticipating that you need all 8 hours in the day. I can outmarket almost every team of 5 people in America at a company in probably 2 hours. And I say that in all humility because it's not because I'm special. It's because you can systematize it, you can contextualize it, and it can be good. And it's not that challenging and difficult. The challenge of marketing departments, and I worked in one in corporate, so I'm not throwing them under the bus. The problem and the challenge is red tape, because people do not have a pre-approved communication strategy. It's not about a marketing plan. And it's not about a content strategy. First of all, if you get approval on a communication strategy if we don't adhere to the communication strategy in terms of tone and presentation, reprimand us. But you've approved the communication strategy, so then you have to just trust us that we're executing the communication strategy. We've put certain tentpole things on the content calendar, set stones in time for things that you can approve. Trust us in real time to do everything else, and if we screw it up, we'll delete it, and you can reprimand us. Yeah. Let us go. Right. But you know what you're getting, so your anxiety should be eschewed in the sense that you know what you're getting in terms of the communication strategy and how we talk, and our tone in each platform and in each scenario has already been approved, and that's policy. Done. So it's just a matter of, did we adhere to policy? Don't red tape us and don't sit there and have to check over everything we do. Either we adhere to policy or not. It's just audit us afterward and reprimand us accordingly and pivot and correct accordingly. Then content strategy. You've approved. All right, here's one thing you know to expect this week. and the weeks and the following weeks and the month and the year. It's set in stone. We're on schedule. We've got that. That's going out. You've approved that. So you know what to expect. Trust us to do things that are in alignment with that in real time. And if we don't and we screw it up, reprimand us. That's it. So that's how you overcome that challenge for the internal marketers. So going back to this read, watch, look, listen thing, it's, for me, the most simple example is a speaking engagement. To do a speaking engagement, I'm already going to have to put together a deck and slides. That's content that people can look at and can read in the context of I can put it in LinkedIn, I can put it in SlideShare, I can put it in Twitter, I can put it in Facebook, I can put it in all those places. I can take individual photos that are associated with that or photos of me on stage, and I can put that in Instagram stories, Instagram, Snapchat, all the visual places that people look, and then I can write something that contextualizes all of that. And it's all predicated on the fact that I take a camera, I set it on record for me being on stage, I hand a second camera or a phone to someone and say, hey, take photos of me while I'm on stage. And then that's it. And then I can strip the audio from that, and that becomes a distributed piece of audio content or a podcast episode right then and there. I can take a summary of that, and I can write a blog post and an article and link the video to that as well. So I can do all of those things. And then I have the photos as the visual representation of all that, not to mention the slide decks and material. Or I can even have a ghostwriter take all of that, make it a summary. I can put out the transcript. I can do all of those things. It's just one event, one thing that happened in real time, and it can be farmed out into every content platform and every type of way that people can learn and can consume from it, regardless of what. And the other thing I can do with that is I can have whatever my main points in the presentation were. I could get a graphic designer, and I could have somebody make an infographic out of that that's valuable and tie it to an article or to anything else, or it could be a standalone piece of content. I can tie all of this to a sales funnel, an email list. It's valuable content that then gets me either more speaking engagements, converts to direct clients for consulting, drives awareness to my social media profiles, keeps my social media followers that I currently have engaged. It does and accomplishes everything I need in terms of sales, scale and positioning, sentiment of seeing how people respond, and the social proof of the body of work that I've produced. And it allows me to create read opportunities, watch opportunities, listening opportunities, and things for people to look at so they can learn on their own terms, whether they're a reading comprehension learner, whether they're an experience-based learner, whether they're an auditory lecture-based learner, or whether they're someone who does much better with visual spatial relationships and diagrams and concepts. I've hit and addressed all of these things, and I've put it into context for people to consume on their own time, in their own way, and I've positioned myself to achieve every goal I could possibly have. And all I had to do was use one piece of content, pretty much one event, one thing happening in real time, and say, turn on a camera, give someone else a camera. I've got it. And now that we have it, let's dissect it. Let's chop it up. Let's remix it. Let's reformat it. Let's repurpose it. One piece of content to create 150 pieces of potential content. It's literally that simple. I could take one speaking engagement. I could farm that into content for the whole year.
All right, sir.
I love it.
With a team of people, you are going to conquer the world. That's all I've got
World
to say.
domination. Hashtag world domination.
Kelly, any other parting?
No, I mean, I'm just my mind is catching up. It's just amazing. I think you have so much insight to share. And I mean, I've watched your videos. There are nuggets of gold throughout all of them. And I mean, yeah, if you are not following Blake on social, or Roberto, hello. If you're not
catching up.
This guy
on YouTube, definitely do so. And, thank you so much for your wisdom that you've shared with us. I think we will still be thinking about it and processing it days later. I know I will for sure.
Yep, definitely. Thank you, Roberto. It was such an amazing conversation, for sharing your energy. Number one, I can feel it. It's palpable. I catch up. I'm hanging on every word. Thank you. And for the content as well. It's not just a matter of getting in the ride for the roller coaster. It's the ride itself. And so I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that it creates some value.
Absolutely.
Get your Futurist advantage by joining our Facebook group at marketingfuturist.co/group and tune in for our next journey into the future of marketing.